Yeah.
It was a big deal because, like you said, it's helping us spread patriotism around the country again.
Hmm.
But I think that one in 1980 to beat the Soviets in the middle of the Cold War,
Yeah.
man, that was special.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Canada, uh, we want to believe they're friendly neighbors up there, but there's unfortunately so much division, and there's a lot going on between the two countries.
Yeah.
You're watching Life is Life for everyone with Chris and Ace, a speakeasy conversation brought to you by CooleyConservatives.com.
Welcome to another episode of Life is Life for Everyone. My good friend Dana Hour, the man of the hour. How are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing great today. Yeah, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm still kind of on cloud nine since that gold medal win from the hockey team on Sunday.
Yes, that was fantastic to watch.
That was beautifully
Yeah,
done. Those guys were amazing.
took me right back to 1980. So,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah, it was that's the year I graduated high school.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, it
You
was.
definitely remember that one then.
Oh yeah, it was a great game. Yeah, it started a patriotic fever in the United States back then, and
Yeah.
and I believe this one is doing the same thing. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And some of us at work we're trying to determine if it was as impactful as the 1981.
Mm,
My opinion is it wasn't. It
yeah.
was it was a big deal because, like you said, it's helping us spread patriotism around the country again.
Hmm.
But I think that one in 1980 to beat the Soviets in the middle of the Cold War,
Yeah.
man, that was special.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Canada, uh, we want to believe they're friendly neighbors up there, but there's unfortunately so much division, and there's a lot going on between the two countries.
Yeah.
And I wish that would change. And you know, this was good for us, but probably not for their attitudes.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, the Canadians, kind of like you're saying, I always think of it as like sibling rivalry.
Hmm. Yeah.
We still love each other, but yeah, there's still a rivalry there.
Yeah, for sure.
But with the Soviets, man, that's like mortal enemy kind of territory.
Yeah, yeah. I
That's
even
why I think
watched.
that one to me is still that much more special.
Yeah, I even watched that day the movie Miracle with Kurt Russell as the coach.
Oh, nice.
So I got a doubler in there.
Perfect. Well
Yeah,
done.
yeah, it was great.
Well, how about we jump into the scripture lesson that you brought for us today?
Yeah, yeah. Chris, I often feel inspired days before the deadline of us doing our recording. And, again, for some reason, I'm feeling led to talk about a difficult subject. No better persons to do it than you and I, right?
Right on.
The subject, throws a lot of people off their game, and it's no one teaches us really about how to deal with this subject. And I'm going to share a few stories of my early childhood, and then my after I got married to Jackie and I lost my dad. I'm going to share some of those personal stories tonight, and hoping that whoever listens to this one understands that there's some options. There's some help to get through this deep subject of
Yeah.
simply death. Okay,
Yeah.
you and I, two friends, two dads, um, here we are. We're sharing about a subject that men really have a hard time dealing with, and they usually end up sucking it in and holding it all in. They don't allow themselves to have any deep emotion. Maybe secretively or privately they might, but to cry, that's not, that's not allowed,
Right.
but that is the most healing thing that we can do as human beings when we're grieving. And so the scripture that I felt led to share on our opener has a lot to do with comfort in grief.
Mm-hmm.
And it's simply Psalms 23:4. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. When you are Christians and you have a belief and a faith in a life thereafter, we're the blessed ones, Chris. We don't have,
That's right.
we don't have a fear of death because we have a belief system that has instructed us through the Holy Bible, through the scriptures of where we're going to end up. So,
That's right.
and
We
if
already know the ending.
the ending is, there's another scripture that I like to hold on to, and, I'll paraphrase it probably from different translations, but it's, to depart from this world and to be with Christ is by far the best. I mean,
Yeah.
when you have that kind of attitude, things like death take on a whole different meaning.
Yep.
So,
Well, and I mentioned it to you at dinner the other night too. Like our pastor recently gave a sermon, and as part of it, he was talking about how many of the members of our church have said they're ready. They're ready to meet Jesus. And he said it's not a suicidal kind of thought. It's just that we know the ending. We know the victory is his.
yeah, yeah.
Whenever he wants us, we're ready.
We've discussed on our other past podcasts, the thy will not mine be done. And
Right.
when our creator is ready, we'll be ready. And I'm not going to try to fight the inevitable. Stay. I'm gonna
Right.
I'm gonna live for tomorrow. I'm going to plan and keep doing the things that you know we as people do. Invest and help others, and all of those things. But I'm not going to fight it. I'm not going to fight that.
Right.
I had a heart attack and I ended up with 2 stints.
Mm.
It could have very easily been my time, but God had different plans. And
Thankfully.
yeah, yeah. So, hopefully I'll live a long life yet, and be able to truly be of service to others. I hope these podcasts help people, overcome, different objectives, different problems, different fears, different anxieties, depression, alcohol, drug abuse. We've covered a lot of subjects.
Almost the entire spectrum at this point.
Yeah, yeah. Once in a while, I think about that. When will the day come when we no longer have a new subject? That
That would be depressing.
yeah, yeah, that pops into our minds and gives us a
Right.
chance to do this. So,
Yeah,
um,
I can't even imagine that, like losing all inspiration for having a
yeah,
conversation like this.
there's the equation. Mathematically, there's probably thousands and thousands at least. So we're safe for a while.
I think so. I think so.
Oh,
I mean, you and I are at the age where I think time will run out on us physically before the ideas stop.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I think that's the case.
Now, if we would
But
have started this in our teens, we might have run out of ideas by now.
maybe, yeah. We might have been talking about sports or
Right.
you know hunting or something. Who knows?
Yeah, all those superficial stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Or we might have tag teamed guests. And maybe
Good
maybe
point.
that's still an option in the future. You never know.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
always a possibility.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I will take a moment here to lighten the mood just a little bit. When
Mhm.
you texted me the other day that you wanted to talk about this topic, let me share with you the thought that went through my head, and I hope you'll get a kick out of this. Have you seen the movie Kelly's Heroes?
Kelly's Heroes, yeah, yeah.
All right. This is what went through my head when you sent me that text.
Oh, man. Don't hit me with them negative waves so early in the morning.
So,
Yeah, Sutherland.
yeah.
Yeah,
Don't hit
that's
me with them negative waves so early in the morning.
that's great. Yeah, I remember that movie for sure.
Oh, that
Yeah,
is one of my favorites of all time. I love that movie.
yeah, yeah. It's an uncomfortable topic, and to deny that, that's not right.
Yeah.
But to deny ourselves the ability to learn and to share and to talk about our feelings in this area that's so uncomfortable. We just, we're going to benefit from it, and others will
Yeah.
too. I believe that. So, we
Well,
talk.
yeah, let's dive in.
Yeah,
I know you had talked about like losing your dad. Thankfully, I still have my dad, and I don't
yeah.
know what that's like.
Well, I want to share about that because it's a pretty strong story that I can share. I I want to start out with a different experience that I remember as like a toddler. My grandpa and grandma lived, as the crow flies, about maybe a quarter mile from our farm homestead, a cut walking path through the field, and you'd be at their home, and they lived very modestly. They lived in a camper trailer, like an Airstream type trailer on this property, and then eventually to a trailer house. But I was just, I think I was barely walking, that age. But my memory allows me to remember my grandpa laying, horizontally out on the Davenport, and being very sick. And,
Mm,
he had, later on, I remember, talks about how he had uh, gallstones and kidney
mm,
stones and whatever ailments that he had physically, it it caused him eventually to pass. And so this was like early 60s. I was born in 62. So the point is I see this man that I had sat on his lap and got tickled and got talked to a little bit, but I all I really remember of him is him laying out sickly, and then later, a little bit later, actually seeing the man passed. He was
hmm
deceased on that couch, and nobody really talked to me about it. So young and so small that I wouldn't probably have been even to carry on that conversation. But I do
Right.
remember that image of my grandpa. And so that, I'm just thinking that image and that experience and those questions and those uncomfortable feelings stuck with me as a child, right? And each time I would experience funerals or someone passing, it always gave me that uncomfortable
Yeah.
feeling about dealing with it. And
Well, the helplessness, I think, is
yeah,
the feeling that I always get around those.
yeah, yeah.
There's
Now,
just nothing we can do.
yeah,
It's a part of the experience.
yeah. We talked on a previous podcast about the stages of grief: the denial, bargaining, depression, anger, and then acceptance. Well, I think as a little one, you're probably not gonna know, or understand any of that.
Right.
You're probably gonna just suck it in, and it's there, and it's not dealt with, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's a good point, because those different stages are gonna manifest in very different ways as you mature.
Sure. Sure. Yes, exactly. And as an adult, for us to understand those stages and then being able to work our way through them,
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty helpful to realize, oh, no wonder I'm so angry, and then get into that acceptance mode that this is just
Yeah.
part of life, and it's meant, thy will, not mine, be done. I'm powerless, and I have no control over this. Therefore, I'm going to accept it, you know,
Yep.
and that belief system, spiritually helps to make that a little easier.
Well,
So,
isn't it interesting too how some people really have a problem with that? They
yeah,
cannot let it go
yeah.
and let God, you know?
Well, and they get stuck in the early stages out of
Yeah.
comfort from having others, you know, physically give them attention, you know. Um, they get stuck in a point where, they get into that depression, and others recognize it, and they come to their need,
Mm-hmm.
and they stay in that mode for quite a while, knowing there's within days or hours or days or weeks, they could very easily move on and, you know, feel better, you know.
Yeah.
So, um, I I wanted to go from there, Chris. I wanted to tell you the story about what I experienced with my own father, and
Mm-hmm.
this one's pretty, you know, pretty how can I say it comfortably? This one's pretty rich spiritually, okay? If somebody that's listening isn't as spiritual as us, they're gonna have a tendency to roll their eye a little bit, maybe. So
Yeah.
let me start off. I'm in Iowa at our kids' show choir invitational events. So we're like 5 hours away from driving from my parents' home, which was on the east side of the state, and I get a call from my middle brother, and he says, "Dana, dad's going. He's in the hospital. He's waiting for you to get here." And so 5 hours later, I walk in the door of the hospital by myself. I didn't bring the kids and Jackie with me.
Sure.
And I walked in. I had Bible in my hand. I was the only one of my 5 boys in the family that really carried that spirituality to another level. I
Yeah.
walk in, and they were all using laughter to cover their emotions, which us as men, we tend to do that,
Just
right?
like I did with the Kelly's Heroes clip.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So my mom and I walked up to his bedside, and he was, unconscious, in a comatose state, breathing. And I held his hand, and I was next to my mom, next to the bedside. And I just looked at him, and I believe I thought some things, and I, might have even maybe said some prayers in general for him at that point, but, you know, m- mainly just holding on to his hand and being there, right? And,
Yeah.
and, and watching him. And after I finished with that, my mom and I sat down, and I sat back in the chair, and like meditated a little bit. And I said to myself and to God, I said, "God, what else do you want me to say on my dad's behalf? What else do you want me to do? Is there anything?" And Chris, I heard this. just a still, soft voice come into my mind that said, pray the prayer I've taught you to pray.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that, Chris. It's real soft, just enough that I recognized, where did that come from? That wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
And I obediently stood up and I went back over to the bed. I reached out to Mom and I asked her to come back up. And I told her that what had just happened. And I said, Mom, I believe God wants me to pray the Lord's Prayer for Dad.
Mm.
Would you do this with me? And my brothers and couple sister-in-laws were still over there, in the other part of the room. And she did that with me. And Chris, I no more than said the last word of the prayer, and my dad took a deep breath and released it, and he breathed no longer. He was gone. Right in that very millisecond, I knew that he was with Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at my mom and I said, Mom, don't be sad. I said, he just went to Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
He's with him right now, Mom. And she smiled and we had a moment and a couple of shed tears. And, then I kind of lost track of what had happened after that,
Wow, that's
but
powerful.
that was an incredible way to be of service to my father, who,
Yeah.
by the way, if anyone who's listened to former podcasts, and I when I spoke about my addictions and my path, with my alcoholism and drug addiction, before I recovered, they would know that I had a tough time with my dad. He and I didn't always see eye to eye, and we had physical altercations, and I ended up being forced to move from the home to live with a foster family for a time. And so it was not good for Dad and I. And he passed from esophageal cancer. And
Mm.
when he was sickly, the few months before he passed, I had an opportunity given to me to go work close to their farm, to the home. And I got to make amends again, and I got to
Oh,
share
what a blessing.
Jesus with my dad, and
Yeah.
a
Wow.
tract, with the salvation prayer, speaking that Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior, and that he died on the cross for us,
Mm-hmm.
So my heart was right, and Dad's heart was right between the two of us. And then that happened, right? It was pretty remarkable.
That's a blessing. What a
Yeah.
blessing.
Yeah. So, now I'm gonna just curve around a little bit here and share something else personally. So I've recently discovered why it is that I tend to shy away from relationships with elderly individuals way older than myself, who are nearing the last, the days of their lives, right? It's uncomfortable to go through and see individuals go through that stage and then pass,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So in survival mode, I tend, with some people that I'm thinking of, I tend to, for my own selfish benefit, maybe even break off that relationship or choose not to, continue visits, those types
Mm-hmm.
of reactions, right? And I have done that. I'm guilty as charged.
Yeah.
And
That heartache is hard to take sometimes.
yeah. So indirectly, subconsciously, my uncomfortable experiences have manifested themselves into this new behavior, and when I'm around elderly folks, I'm just like you and I are right now. I have no problem communicating, this and that, but to see the deep down, strong, intimate relationship all the way to the end, that's a difficult thing for us, man.
Yeah.
I know that I'm not the only one that I'm speaking to here. I know
No,
this is
no,
an
you're
issue.
100%.
This is an issue for guys,
It's hard.
so
Heartache is not easy for men.
yeah, yeah. So I believe I'm cheating myself out of some real significant blessings, that could be received from these specific individuals. And then also I'm cheating myself out of being of service to these individuals as well.
Oh, that's
A-
an interesting way to look at it.
And God forgive me, for my selfish, ways in this arena here, um, it's then you add all of the other things that go on, right? And you put all that into a sieve, and it all
Right.
kind of slowly goes through the sieve, right? And meanwhile, you're just living your life a day at a time and trying to do the best you can. And oftentimes us guys, we tend to become workaholics, and we put ourselves
Yeah.
more into our
We
work
try
than
to mask it with something.
we mask it. Yeah.
Mask it
Others
with
might.
work, mask it with liquor, mask it with whatever. We mask it with something.
Exactly. So that we don't have to deal with these hard issues.
That's right.
So I knew deep down this was a subject that maybe is going to touch, and hit home with some guys and some women too. I mean,
Yeah. Well, and
it's
like
tough.
you said, I mean, there are probably some women out there who might not understand the kinds of things that guys go through.
Yeah, yeah. And
And so
so,
maybe this is a way for them to help their husbands or their loved ones as
mhm,
well.
very good point. Very good point. My Jackie, I've put her through a lot in 41 years, and she's through thick and thin, she's stuck it out with me, and I'm not
Oh,
always an easy
these women in our lives are angels sent by
angels.
God, man.
Yeah, yeah. There's if it was the reverse, if I was her and vice versa, it wouldn't. I don't think I'd be as an angelic. So
No,
it's just
no,
funny,
100%
funny
agree
how it
with
works.
you.
But what if? Now I'm not going to go into details here, but what if a person, has a health experience? I'll use it in my case. So I'm having this heart attack out on the driveway after snow blowing. I think it's like 5 years ago now. I didn't even keep track of the date that it happened. And Jackie's driving me to the hospital, um, on the way past Menards, she says, "Hey, Dana, I got a couple of errands to run. Do you mind if I stop at Menards quick before I get, she's using humor. Here I am, hyperventilating in the front seat, having a heart attack, and she's, so how do and then I'm in the hospital room, and I'm joking with the guy that's shaving me, you know, and she's bawling, she's crying, she's in fear that she is going to lose her husband
Yeah.
at any time, at any minute. My heart could burst and I could be done, and so using it in that reference, um, what, how does a person, get through all of those emotions and those experiences and not think about the potential of, it happening again, and then the loss, right?
Yeah.
While we're alive, we're thinking about our loved one dying. Okay? So what do we do about that? Right? Are we lucky enough to have a close enough friend that we can share this with, that we can talk, in my program of recovery, people have sponsors, and those sponsors are meant to be the person you go to share all of those things with, right?
Yeah.
And so we're, in that sense, very blessed to have that, and have steps to work to help us through certain things, right? Most people don't have that, or they choose not to let it out, and talk
Mm.
about it. So here's what, so I'm going through this situation personally myself. Here's what I've chosen to do. A solution to this problem of, holding it all in and not having anybody to talk to personally, about it. So here we got employee assistance programs at our work.
Mm-hmm.
All you got to do is call and make an appointment, and a certified professional counselor will sit in front of you. And yeah, you got to get over the fear of really opening up to this perfect stranger, right? But I've had no problem doing it in the past with other situations. So
Mm.
I'm making an appointment with an EAP professional, and I'm going to share these situations that I'm going through in regards to, death, and how I react with the elderly, in avoidance, and, try to maybe get some of that stuff out in the air. This is certainly going to help me,
Mm.
sharing it like I am. Um, dealing with a loved one that's got some health issues, you know, um, God forbid there's anything terminal, that you'd have to go to that next level and deal with that,
Right.
right? So for a guy to suck that all in and hold that, oh my God, that's such a weight. What a
Yeah.
weight on your
It's not
shoulder.
healthy.
Oh, I can't even imagine. So that's my plan. I'm gonna EAP, and probably in the month of March. And if it takes more than one counseling session to get through this,
Hmm.
I'm gonna do that. And
Yeah,
I'm gonna,
that's a really good point too, because I think almost all employers now have some kind of program like that.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just part of your benefits package
yeah.
nowadays.
I think there's like 5 or 6 appointments for free. So it does, you don't even need insurance or anything to do it.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a really good point too, because
Yep.
like you're saying, these programs are there for a very good reason. I
Yeah.
mean, we talk about this before. Mental health is a real problem in America right now.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
got to address these things head on.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna take a quick look at my notes here.
Sure.
Here I wrote down what things might help resolve grief. Acknowledge and accept both positive and negative feelings. Allow plenty of time to experience thoughts and feelings.
Mm.
Confide in a trusted person about the loss. Express feelings openly, or write journal entries about them. Find bereavement
Journaling is a
group.
great idea
Mm-hmm.
for many, many reasons. For
Yeah.
those of us who are a little entrepreneurial, those 2 a.m. ideas in the middle of the night, you never know. There might be $1 million idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Here I am, a book author, and I don't journal, and I
Oh,
should. And
really?
yeah, I really should. It's very therapeutic. It's very helpful.
It
I
is. It's
have I
powerful.
Yeah, I have journaled, but I don't consistently every day diary or journal.
Yeah,
So
I don't do it consistently either.
yeah,
Just like whenever the inspiration hits me.
yeah. My phone notes section on my cell phone is getting pretty full, and my
Yeah.
voice recording. I've got thoughts and different ideas and things that come to me, but
Yeah. I've
that's
got a couple of other tools that I use, especially when I'm putting together podcasts, and commentary or something, I'll just start typing away on the computer. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm a computer nerd, so that's my happy place.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure there's programs written that would make writing journaling a lot easier than
Yeah.
doing it with pen and paper.
Yeah.
But
Well, but honestly, the actual handwriting, it's much more therapeutic doing it that
yeah,
way.
yeah, I know I still enjoy it, writing with the pen and paper.
Yeah.
So,
Something about that muscle brain activity,
mhm.
there's something to that.
Yeah, I came in out of the garage. I was off work today. Problems with my semi trailer maintenance wise or mechanically wise, and so I was working on a couple of house projects, and it's funny how quickly a person can get distracted. So and after that one distraction, then I ended up doing notes on the podcast, and pretty soon you're back to doing what you were doing, and
Yeah.
so
Four rabbit hole spirals
oh
next.
yeah, check
That
Facebook,
happens at work all the
email,
time too.
yeah, terrible. But the last of this was find bereavement groups in which there are other people who've had similar losses.
Yeah,
Remember
that's a
that,
good idea.
and then lastly, remember that crying can provide a release. Seek professional help if feelings are overwhelming.
Mm.
Um, you know,
How do
I
you
got,
define overwhelming though?
yeah,
I think
yeah,
obviously most people are going to be different thresholds of what overwhelming means to them.
yeah,
But I think because like we were talking about before, guys have a real problem with this
yeah,
generally. What
yeah,
what is it mean to be overwhelming and how can you tell?
yeah. I think going back to the stages of grief, if you were
Mm,
stuck in depression and anger, the third and fourth stage, if you were stuck in those and you were making bad decisions and utilizing,
yeah.
you know, I think that would be a good sign at that point if a person can realize it. They listen to this podcast and they go, "Oh my God, Dana and Chris, they talked about this. This is where I'm at. I need to do this. I need to do this
That
next."
is a really good point.
Yeah,
If you find yourself in that kind of cycle,
yeah,
that never-ending cycle, that's probably a good indicator right there.
yeah. If a person trains themselves and habitually seeks guidance,
Mhm.
when and before they become overwhelmed, I think there's a preventative measure
Yeah.
involved
Well, and
with.
to understand what your trigger is and when you're reaching it, like I said, the threshold idea.
Yeah,
You know, if I'm out exercising, I know my threshold of, okay, if I keep pushing myself, I might hurt my knees or something like that. I
hmm,
know my threshold. It's the same thing with mental health, I believe anyway. I'm not
yeah,
an expert. I'm not skilled clinical psychologist or anything, but I believe there are thresholds, and the older, more mature people get, they understand their own thresholds.
yeah. I think so. Yeah, let's see.
But yeah, I think you nailed it though. Like when you identify that you're starting to reach one of your thresholds like that, that's when
Mhm,
you have to understand that's the trigger point to find help.
yeah.
Whether like you're saying it's a group therapy or conversation with just a loved one.
So let's take another parallel to this in this subject line. We spoke a little bit at dinner together on Saturday about pets, right?
Yep.
How many have you had pets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was probably about 10 years ago.
Okay.
We had to let Justice go. And that
Yeah.
was heartbreaking, man.
Oh yeah.
And the
Yeah.
reason that I brought it up the other night is because we have some mutual friends who are going through that right now.
Yeah.
Those pets
Yeah.
can be some of your best friends in life.
Yeah. I had a trained hunting dog named Wilbur, and his as a black lab. I mean, he was just the best, and
Mm.
we had him. His last year of hunting with me was about 9 years old, So his senile elderly ages, got him to the point where he would shake and fall
Mm.
over, and then have like a seizure. And so we knew at that point, we need to take him to a professional, to a
Yeah.
veterinarian. And when we took Jackie and I took him in, this veterinarian was just incredible that we had. He's in Rushford, Minnesota, and he looked over at me after we had made the decision, to euthanize him, right? He looked over at me and he said, you're making the right decision, right? And I right then and there I knew, that's all I needed was, am I doing this, for my own
Yeah.
benefit, or am I doing this for his?
And that's the hardest part of it. Like
Yeah,
taking yourself out of it and because your judgment, your judgment is clouded.
yeah, yeah,
That is hard, man.
yeah. So, and then, well, we paid for the extra to have him cremated and have a little urn, a little
Mhm.
box. And we've, morbidly, anybody thinks as it is, we have it here in the house. It's, he's still with us, and we have
Yeah.
memorialized pictures of him and our other little dog, which, by the way, 3 months later, our little Yorkie ends up with bladder cancer
Oh
and
no.
tumors, and we had to put him down.
Mm,
So within a year of themselves, we put our two loved one pets down. And
that's
it was
hard.
right at the year before, right before we moved into our house. So
Mm,
that just added a whole nother level to the whole thing,
yeah.
the emotional side of this, that our two, pet kids were going to be gone, um, that was a doubler there, double,
Yeah.
double, emotional. And so both of our dogs, we have a friend, coworker at Jackie's, whose partner is a fantastic artist, and she did like these hand drawings of the dogs, and they look so real. I'll show them to you if you come over again. They look
Wow.
like they're real dogs in this picture. She just does just such a fantastic job.
Wow,
So we have
nice.
we have pictures of them like they were our kids on the wall, right?
Yeah.
So to believe, that someday they'll be reunited, rejoined to us after we pass. I don't know.
The
I've
Bible doesn't talk about pets.
doesn't. I want to believe it's true.
I'm like you, but there's no
Yeah,
evidence in the Bible about it at all.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to think on that.
And maybe that's why when pets pass, it's so difficult for us because we don't know if we're going to see them again.
Maybe, or we do know that we might not. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Good
So,
point.
but
And maybe that's, you know what? We might be onto something here. Maybe that's
yeah,
why it's so tough when these pets pass.
yeah, could be. Um, but those, the folks that are going through this experience right now, all I can say is, time takes care of us.
Yeah.
Um, memorialize them. You know, um,
Well, and I tell my friends at work all the time, I mean, cherish every moment.
yeah,
All these
mm,
moments are such little blessings.
yeah. I wrote that in my book, if you remember right, about the dogs' kennels and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Even after they were gone, and
Yep.
knowing, in a survival situation, in a apocalyptic situation like my books are, knowing that you wouldn't be able to take care of that extra mouth, right, for feeding wise, and as hard as it is to think of and to do, the right thing to do would be to euthanize the animal in that scenario. That's crazy. Who
Yeah.
could do it? I don't know. I don't think I can do it.
You know what? It's a balancing act. On the one hand, a good dog is great security.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a great security guard. And
Barking.
as a candidate for county office going door to door right now, I can tell you these dogs are really good security guards.
Yes.
When I
Yes.
knock on that door and I hear that big bark, I'm like, great
Yeah.
security system you got here, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very good. Yeah. And
So
this.
yeah, I mean, like you're saying, in a post-apocalyptic environment,
Yeah.
it's a balancing act.
Yeah.
You want that security guard,
Yeah.
keep it fed.
I love them. I love them so much. I love dogs so much. I ended up with, you know, two different dogs in the story that survived. You know, I couldn't help myself.
Yep.
So I had to write them in.
Well done.
Yeah. It's been a tough topic, Chris, but I think we nailed it. I think
Yeah, I agree.
you
How
know
do you
if
wanna wrap this one up?
well, if you know to have a to have you get into such a state of overwhelmed anxiety and emotion that you don't know where to turn and what to do next. Um, you know, just know that there are people that are willing to speak with you.
Yeah.
And, you
Well,
know,
and I think you nailed it before, so there's so many employers out there who have these benefit programs
yeah.
that allow you to call someone and have a conversation like that. But I'll also offer this too. When people find themselves in situations where they really don't know what to do next,
Hmm.
just pick up the Bible and
Yeah.
pick any page in it.
Yeah.
God will talk to you.
Yeah. I've practiced this times in my life where I just believe opening the page, it's the page I'm supposed to be on.
Exactly.
So I'll do that frequently where I'll just open it and read and oh boy, thank you, God. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I needed right there.
God knows exactly what you need when you need it. And if you just randomly thumb through the Bible, he'll
Yeah,
tell you exactly what he needs you to know.
I agree. I agree.
I 100% believe that. And I know some people think I'm crazy for it, but they can think whatever they want.
That's right.
I know it's true, especially in my heart.
Yeah. We live in America and we
That's
can
right.
we can believe, we can practice, we can do, so much more with freedom to do that. And people just don't even realize how blessed, how lucky we are to live in this
Oh,
country.
it's amazing.
Yeah, they take it
Especially
for
when you
granted.
talk about, 250-year birthday.
Yeah,
250 years we've been doing this.
yeah,
We are incredibly blessed.
yeah. We're
Some
young.
countries don't last a few decades.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All
Don't
right,
want
my
to.
friend. Well, thank you so much for this topic. This, like you said, I think we nailed this one. That I'm so glad you brought this one up, and I'm
Good.
glad we could talk about it as good Christian fathers and husbands.
Yeah. Well, I'll give God the glory and all the credit. So he inspired and we just are humble servants, Chris, you and I. So
Amen.
yeah. If
Well
anybody
said.
personally, if anybody knows me and is ever in a situation where they need somebody to chat with or to for any reason, I'm open. I'm open-minded and able, and I've got a little bit of experience in a lot of different areas. So, you know, I'll share of myself, my experience, strength, and hope, and and more importantly, I'll just listen and allow somebody to have somebody who's not going to go and blab it all over the countryside.
Right.
It'd be an anonymity situation, you know.
We'll keep it off the microphones.
Yeah, yeah. So if
You and I will keep the podcasting going.
yeah, yeah. just reach out. If not to a professional, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll listen. So
God bless you,
that's
my friend.
thank you, Chris. God bless you.
Hi, thanks for checking out this episode. If you like this content, then please visit cooleyconservatives.com and click the Buy Me a Coffee option to leave us a tip. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Truth Social. Oh, and you can get our content in your email inbox once a week by subscribing at cooleyconservatives.com. Thanks again. Take care and God bless.
I want you, need you to know.